Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract money like a magnet while you're working twice as hard just to keep your head above water? What if I told you that right at this very moment, while you're reading these words, there's a divine frequency activating around your finances that could change everything you thought you knew about wealth and prosperity? I'm Florence Scovel Shinn, and today we're going to explore something that goes far beyond saving pennies or cutting coupons. We're talking about a supernatural principle that operates whether you understand it or not, whether you believe it or not, and whether you've ever heard of it or not. This isn't about working harder or finding another side hustle. This is about aligning yourself with an invisible force that's been transferring wealth since the beginning of time. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's what most people don't realize about money. They think it's scarce. They think there's not enough to go around. They look at their bank account and believe that what they see is the final verdict on their financial destiny. But what if that's the exact lie keeping you trapped in limitation? What if there's an infinite storehouse of abundance with your name already written on it, and the only thing standing between you and that wealth is a shift in your consciousness? Has this ever happened to you? You've tried positive affirmations, you've set goals, you've made vision boards, you've worked yourself to exhaustion, and yet somehow the bills keep piling up and the breakthrough never comes. You watch other people seemingly stumble into opportunities, inherit money, get unexpected bonuses, win contests, and you wonder what they have that you don't. Let me tell you something that might shock you. They don't have anything you don't have. They've simply learned to tune into a frequency that you haven't discovered yet. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. Actually, it might do more than surprise you. It might fundamentally transform the way you see money, God, and your own worthiness to receive abundance. You see, there's a spiritual law at work in this universe, a law as reliable as gravity, as consistent as the sunrise, and as powerful as the ocean tides. This law doesn't care about your past mistakes, your current debt, or how many times you've failed before. It simply responds to one thing: your inner agreement with abundance. Right now, in this exact moment, there are channels of provision opening up that you can't see with your physical eyes. There are divine appointments being arranged, connections being orchestrated, and resources being mobilized on your behalf. But here's the critical part that changes everything. The critical part is this: there is money right now, at this very second, with your name on it. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. I'm talking about actual resources, actual wealth, actual provision that has been assigned specifically to you. It's not waiting for you to become perfect. It's not waiting for you to finally deserve it. It's waiting for you to open your hands and receive it. The divine storehouse doesn't operate on the same rules as your bank. It doesn't check your credit score. It doesn't care about your past failures. It responds to one thing and one thing only: your readiness to receive. But here's where most people get stuck, and this might be exactly where you are right now. You've tried everything, haven't you? You've read the books about positive thinking. You've declared affirmations in the mirror every morning. You've prayed with tears streaming down your face at 3 a.m. when the bills were due and the account was empty. You've worked overtime, sacrificed time with your family, pushed yourself to exhaustion, and yet somehow the numbers never change. The cycle never breaks. You take one step forward and 2 steps back. Has this ever happened to you? That feeling of being trapped on a financial treadmill where no matter how fast you run, you never actually get anywhere? This is the hidden truth that changes everything. The reason those methods haven't worked isn't because they're wrong. It's because you've been operating from a consciousness of lack while trying to attract abundance. It's like planting seeds in concrete and wondering why nothing grows. The soil of your mind has to shift first. The internal landscape has to transform before the external reality can follow. You see, behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough, there's always a moment of decision, a point where someone stops agreeing with poverty and starts aligning with prosperity, not just mentally, but at a deep spiritual level where real transformation happens. This journey we're on together right now isn't about learning a new trick or discovering a secret loophole. This is about recognizing that the universe operates on spiritual laws that are far more powerful than economic conditions, job markets, or inflation rates. These laws have been transferring wealth from the invisible to the visible realm since the beginning of time, and they're ready to work on your behalf. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding what blocks divine provision is just as important as knowing it exists. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for the shift." Think about this for a moment. Out of millions of videos you could be watching right now, out of infinite content competing for your attention, you're here. You clicked on this message, you're still reading, you haven't scrolled away. That's not random chance. That's not the algorithm playing tricks. That's divine timing. Your spirit knows something your logical mind hasn't caught up with yet. There's a recognition happening at a level deeper than thought, a resonance between what I'm sharing and what your soul has been crying out for. You see, the universe doesn't operate on coincidence. Every moment, every encounter, every piece of information that crosses your path is part of an intricate orchestration. Behind the scenes, there are forces at work, aligning circumstances, arranging meetings, and positioning resources in ways you can't see yet. And right now, in this exact moment, something is shifting. Not tomorrow, not when you finally get everything figured out. Right now, as you absorb these words, there's an energetic transformation taking place in the invisible realm around your finances. Here's the revelation that changes everything. There's a frequency to abundance, just like there's a frequency to lack. Think about how a radio works. All the stations are broadcasting simultaneously, but you only hear the one you're tuned into. Money operates the same way. The unlimited resources of the universe are broadcasting constantly, flowing like an endless river. But most people are tuned into the frequency of scarcity. They wake up thinking about what they don't have. They go to bed worrying about bills. They look at their bank account and let those numbers define their reality. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, reflects that frequency right back to them. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. This channel is dedicated to feeding your faith and showing you the spiritual principles that actually create lasting wealth. But what's happening right now is different. There's an alignment taking place between your deepest desires for financial freedom and the divine intelligence that created galaxies and orchestrates the seasons. This same creative power that keeps your heart beating without you thinking about it, that heals wounds while you sleep, that grows trees from tiny seeds, is turning its attention toward your financial circumstances. The impact of this alignment is profound, because when human desire meets divine provision, miracles become inevitable. This isn't about forcing or manipulating or trying harder with the same old strategies that haven't worked. This is about surrender into a flow that's already moving. It's about recognizing that the transformation you've been seeking has already begun the moment you decided to be present here. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this alignment actually creates in the physical world, because understanding the mechanics of this spiritual law changes how you approach every financial decision from this moment forward. The real question you need to ask yourself isn't whether God has the ability to send you money. Of course He does. The divine intelligence that spoke worlds into existence, that holds galaxies in place, that commands oceans and mountains, obviously has access to unlimited resources. The question that actually determines your financial reality is this: are you ready to receive? Because here's the hidden truth that nobody talks about. Most people are terrified of abundance. They say they want it, they pray for it, they work for it, but deep down in the basement of their consciousness, there's a voice whispering that they don't deserve it. that wealth is somehow unspiritual, that struggling financially is noble and holy. This is the backwards teaching that's been poisoning prosperity for generations. Somewhere along the journey, we got convinced that poverty equals purity, that suffering with money proves devotion to God, that if you're truly spiritual, you should be barely scraping by. But think about this logically for just a moment. Would a loving creator design a universe of infinite abundance and then demand that his children live in lack? Would the divine intelligence that lavishly decorates every flower and feeds every bird want you stressed over bills and drowning in debt? The entire natural world screams abundance. Trees don't produce just enough leaves to survive. Rivers don't flow with just enough water. The ocean doesn't hold back its waves. Nature operates in overflow, in excess, in more than enough. The only place scarcity exists is in the human mind. We created it through fear, through limiting beliefs, through religious teachings that confused poverty with righteousness. And then we reinforced it generation after generation until people actually feel guilty for wanting financial freedom. But here's the transformation that happens when you break free from this lie. You realize that your resistance to receiving wealth isn't protecting your spirituality. It's blocking the very flow that God designed to bless you, and through you, bless others. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle I've witnessed, there's always this pivotal moment where someone makes a decision to stop agreeing with lack. They reject the idea that they're supposed to struggle. They refuse to accept that wanting abundance is selfish or greedy. They recognize that the universe is literally designed as a delivery system for prosperity, and the only thing standing between them and breakthrough is their own internal resistance. The impact of this revelation cannot be overstated, because once you see that you've been blocking your own blessing, you can finally open your hands and receive what's been waiting for you all along. Now I want to go even deeper into what happens when you actually shift from resistance to receptivity, because this is where the supernatural begins to override the natural. Write in the comments, I receive without guilt. When you look at ancient wisdom from every spiritual tradition across the globe, there's one consistent message that threads through all of them. We live in a universe of infinite abundance. Not scarcity, not limitation, not just enough to get by if you're lucky. Infinite means without end, without boundary, without running out. The same creative force that takes a tiny seed and transforms it into a massive tree producing thousands more seeds. This same intelligence is operating in your financial life right now. It doesn't know how to create scarcity. It only knows multiplication, expansion, overflow. Think about the journey a seed takes. You plant it in darkness, cover it with dirt, and for a while, nothing visible happens. But beneath the surface, powerful forces are at work. Roots are forming, life is stirring, energy is building. Then suddenly, breakthrough. The seed doesn't struggle or strain. It simply cooperates with the natural law of growth embedded into creation itself. Your finances operate on the same principle. There's a divine law governing the flow of abundance that's been working since the beginning of time, and it doesn't require you to figure everything out or force outcomes. It requires alignment. Now here's where this gets radically different from the manifestation techniques you've probably tried before. I'm not talking about writing affirmations 50 times in a journal or staring at vision boards hoping something magical happens. Those things aren't wrong, but they're surface level. They're working with the conscious mind while the real transformation happens at a much deeper place. The spiritual law I'm describing operates whether you're consciously thinking about it or not. It's like gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to work. You don't have to understand the physics of it. It functions automatically because it's built into the fabric of reality itself. The impact of understanding this shifts everything, because you stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start cooperating with a force far more intelligent than your limited perspective. Behind the scenes, this creative power is orchestrating circumstances you can't see, arranging connections you don't know about yet, and preparing provision from directions you haven't even considered. Your job isn't to control the how or the when or the where. Your job is to maintain the frequency of receptivity, to keep your consciousness open to abundance rather than contracted in fear and doubt. This is the hidden truth that separates those who experience occasional windfalls from those who live in consistent prosperity. They've tapped into something ancient, something primal, something that was operating long before modern economic systems existed and will continue operating long after. Now, I want to go even deeper into what actively blocks this divine flow in most people's lives, because recognizing the obstacles is half the battle of removing them. The hidden truth that nobody wants to admit is this: the difference between people who constantly struggle with money and those who seem to attract it effortlessly has nothing to do with how smart they are. It's not about where they were born or what family they came from. It's not even about how hard they work, because I've seen people work themselves into early graves and die broke, while others seem to stumble into wealth with half the effort. The real dividing line is internal alignment with the source of all wealth. It's about whether your inner world matches the abundance of the outer universe, or whether you're broadcasting scarcity while asking for prosperity. Think about it like this: if you're carrying around internal agreements with poverty, beliefs that money is evil, or that rich people are greedy, or that you're somehow safer staying small, the universe can't override your free will. Divine provision can be knocking at your door with both hands full of blessing. But if your internal state is locked and barricaded with fear and unworthiness, nothing gets through. The transformation happens when you make a decision to unlock that door. Not someday, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances improve. Right now, in this moment, while you're reading these words. Every great shift in human history started with a single decision. One person choosing to believe something different, to see possibilities where everyone else saw limitations, to step out of the old story and into a new reality. And here's what makes this moment so powerful for you. This is your point of decision. This exact moment right now is the crossroads between the life you've been living and the life that's waiting for you. On one side is the familiar territory of struggle, the predictable cycle of barely making it, the comfort of complaining about circumstances you feel powerless to change. On the other side is unknown territory, where provision flows from unexpected places, where opportunities appear out of nowhere, where your worth is finally reflected in your bank account. The journey across that line doesn't require you to have everything figured out. It doesn't demand perfection or total understanding. It simply requires a decision, a moment where you say internally with absolute conviction that the old agreement with lack is canceled and the new reality of abundance is now activated. Behind the scenes, in the invisible realm where all manifestation begins, that decision creates a seismic shift. It's like changing the channel on a radio. One moment you're tuned into static and struggle. The next moment, you're receiving a completely different frequency. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this decision actually looks like in practical terms, because understanding the mechanics of this shift is what makes it sustainable rather than just a temporary high that fades when reality hits. Write in the comments, "I'm making the decision now." Here's where most people get tripped up on this journey toward financial freedom. They confuse readiness with passive hoping. They sit back, fingers crossed, wishing something would change while doing nothing different internally. But true readiness isn't a feeling that randomly descends on you like good weather. It's an active state of being, a posture you choose, a declaration that rises from the deepest part of your spirit. It's the difference between someone standing on the shore watching boats pass by and someone who's already stepped into the water, committed to the crossing. Think about what readiness actually means in practical terms. When you're ready for something, you've made space for it. You've cleared out the clutter. You've prepared room in your life, in your mind, in your daily routine for the new reality to land. If your consciousness is still completely occupied with poverty thinking, with victim stories, with all the reasons why abundance can't happen for you, then where exactly is the breakthrough supposed to go? It's like praying for rain while holding an umbrella over your head and wondering why you're not getting wet. The transformation from passive hoping to active readiness happens through declaration. Not just thinking it quietly to yourself, but speaking it out loud, writing it down, making it tangible in the physical world. There's tremendous spiritual weight in the act of declaring something before you see evidence of it. When you say, "I am ready," with conviction, you're not describing your current emotional state. You're creating a new reality through the power of your words. You're drawing a line in the sand of your consciousness and saying everything before this moment was the old story, and everything after this moment is the new chapter. Behind the scenes, in the realm where thoughts become things and intentions shape outcomes, this declaration activates forces you can't see with physical eyes. It's like flipping a switch that sends a signal throughout the entire universe that you're no longer available for struggle, that you're no longer in agreement with lack, that you've officially opened your hands and your heart to receive what divine abundance has been trying to give you all along. The impact of this simple act cannot be overstated, because words aren't just sounds, they're creative forces. They're the same power that spoke worlds into existence. And when you align your words with divine truth, you become a co-creator of your financial reality. This isn't about faking it or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about making a choice to step forward in faith, even when your bank account hasn't caught up yet, even when the bills are still sitting on the table, even when logic says nothing has changed. Now, I want to go even deeper into what happens in the spiritual atmosphere when you make this kind of bold declaration. Because understanding the mechanics of faith gives you confidence to keep standing even when circumstances temporarily look the same. Type in the comments, "I am ready to receive." When you make that declaration of readiness, something tangible shifts in the energetic field around your life. This isn't mystical mumbo-jumbo or wishful thinking. Science has already proven that everything in the universe operates at specific frequencies, that thoughts carry measurable energy, that intention shapes reality in ways we're only beginning to understand. The moment you align your words, your thoughts, and your expectations with abundance rather than lack, you literally change the signal you're broadcasting into the universe. And the universe, being the perfect responding mechanism that it is, immediately begins rearranging circumstances to match your new frequency. Think about how a magnet works. It doesn't chase after metal. It doesn't beg or plead or convince. It simply is magnetic, and metal is drawn to it automatically. When you shift into the frequency of abundance, you become magnetic to resources, opportunities, and divine provision. You don't have to figure out how it's going to happen or where it's going to come from. Your job is to maintain the signal, to stay aligned with receptivity rather than resistance, to keep declaring readiness even when your current reality looks the same as yesterday. Now here's the revelation that changes how you see everything. When we talk about divine provision, we're not discussing some distant cosmic force that may or may not care about your bills. We're talking about the eternal provider, the infinite intelligence from which all wealth in existence flows. Look around. You right now. Everything you see, every building, every car, every dollar in circulation, every resource on this planet ultimately came from the creative power of divine intelligence. Nothing exists that wasn't first an idea in the mind of God. Nothing manifests in the physical realm that didn't originate in the spiritual realm. This same creative force that spoke galaxies into existence, that designed ecosystems so intricate, scientists are still discovering new levels of brilliance, that orchestrates the rotation of planets and the changing of seasons without ever making a mistake. This intelligence is personally invested in your well-being. Behind the scenes of your everyday life, there's a benevolent power working on your behalf, arranging divine appointments, preparing provision, and positioning resources in your path. The impact of truly grasping this truth is profound, because it means you're never alone in your financial struggle. You're never operating on your own limited strength and wisdom. You have access to infinite intelligence that knows exactly what you need before you even ask for it. The journey from scarcity to abundance is really a journey from believing you're on your own to recognizing you're supported by a force that never sleeps, never runs out, and never fails. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this eternal provider actually operates in your specific situation, because understanding the intimate nature of divine provision changes everything. About how you pray, how you expect, and how you receive. Write in the comments, "The eternal provider sees me." Here's what most people don't understand about the divine intelligence that created the universe. This isn't some distant, disinterested cosmic force observing from afar. This is intimate, personal, involved awareness of every detail of your life. The same power that holds galaxies in place knows exactly how many hairs are on your head right now. The same creative force that designed the intricacies of DNA notices when a single sparrow falls from the sky. If this level of attention is given to something as small as a bird, how much more do you think divine awareness is focused on your financial needs, your bills, your stress about making ends meet? Think about the implications of this for a moment. Your rent payment that's coming due isn't a surprise to God. That medical bill sitting on your kitchen table isn't invisible to divine eyes. The credit card statement that makes your stomach tighten with anxiety, the car repair you've been putting off, the groceries you need to feed your family, none of it is hidden from the one who created you. This isn't meant to make you feel exposed or judged. It's meant to give you confidence that you're not navigating financial challenges alone, hoping some general blessing might accidentally land on you. You're being seen, known, and specifically provided for by an intelligence that never overlooks a single detail. But here's where the transformation really accelerates. There's tremendous power in intercessory prayer, in having someone stand in the gap on your behalf, speaking directly to the source of all provision. This creates a spiritual bridge between heaven and earth, between the infinite storehouse of divine wealth and your immediate need. This isn't superstition or outdated religious ritual. This is engaging with spiritual technology that's been working reliably for thousands of years, operating on laws as consistent as gravity or magnetism. When faith-filled words are spoken over your financial situation, something shifts in the invisible realm. Behind the scenes, barriers begin crumbling, doors start opening, and resources that were stuck begin flowing toward you. The impact of this kind of prayer isn't just emotional comfort or feeling better temporarily. It's actual movement in the spiritual atmosphere that governs how provision manifests in the physical world. Think of it like this. Your prayer is powerful, but when combined with someone else's faith, when two or more agree together about what's being released, the spiritual laws amplify exponentially. This is the hidden truth about why some people experience breakthrough after breakthrough, while others struggle in isolation. They've tapped into the principle of agreement, of collective faith creating momentum that individual effort alone can't generate. The journey you're on right now isn't meant to be walked alone. You need others speaking life over your finances, declaring provision on your behalf, standing in faith when your own faith feels shaky. Now, I want to go even deeper into what's actually being released in the spiritual realm right now as we're having this conversation, because understanding the specificity of divine provision changes everything about how you receive it. Put in the comments, "I receive through faith and agreement." What separates superficial faith from transformative belief is understanding that divine provision doesn't operate in vague generalities. God doesn't stand at a distance making broad assumptions about what you might need. The awareness is far more specific, far more intimate than most people realize. Your name is known, not just the name on your birth certificate, but the essence of who you truly are. Those dreams you carried as a child before the world told you to be realistic. Those secret hopes you whispered in the dark when no one else was listening. The prayers you've been too embarrassed to say out loud because they felt too specific, too materialistic, too focused on money. Every single bill sitting on your kitchen table right now is visible to divine eyes. That electric bill, that car payment, that student loan statement you've been avoiding opening. The amount isn't a mystery. The due date isn't unknown. The stress it's causing you isn't invisible. Nothing about your financial situation is hidden from the one who created you. And here's why this matters so profoundly. When you understand that the provision coming your way isn't generic blessing, but targeted supply for your specific needs, you stop praying in vague religious language and start expecting concrete answers. Think about the transformation that happens when you realize there's a cosmic intelligence observing not just where you are right now, but where you're meant to be. The gap between your current bank account and the abundance you were designed to experience isn't a mystery to God. That distance between today's reality and tomorrow's breakthrough, between this month's struggle and next month's overflow, it's not some vast unknown that divine wisdom is trying to figure out. Behind the scenes, that gap is already being measured, and provision is already being released to fill it exactly. The impact of this revelation cannot be overstated, because it means your breakthrough isn't dependent on you convincing God to notice you or competing with millions of other prayers for limited attention. You're already seen. Your needs are already known. The solution is already in motion. Right now, in this exact moment, as you're reading these words, there are resources being positioned, opportunities being arranged, and connections being orchestrated specifically for you. Not for someone like you, not for people in general. For you, by name, by situation, by specific need. This is the hidden truth that wealthy people throughout history have tapped into, often without even realizing the spiritual mechanics behind it. They operate with an expectation of provision that's specific and personal rather than hoping for general good luck. The journey from lack to abundance accelerates dramatically when you shift from vague wishing to precise faith. Now, I want to go even deeper into what's actually happening right now in the invisible realm while we're having this conversation, because understanding the timing of divine provision changes how you position yourself to receive it. Write in the comments, God knows my specific needs. Here's what most people miss when they pray for financial breakthrough. They think the answer is some distant future event that might happen if conditions align perfectly. But what's actually occurring right now, in this very moment while you're reading these words, is real movement in the spiritual realm. This isn't metaphorical language or poetic expression. I'm talking about actual activity, tangible shifts, happening in the invisible dimension where all manifestation begins. Checks are literally being written by people who don't even know your name yet. Bank transfers are being initiated through channels you haven't discovered. Business opportunities are being prepared by individuals who will cross your path in the coming days and weeks. Think about the implications of this. Your breakthrough isn't waiting for you to become more worthy or more spiritual or more perfect. It's already in motion. Behind the scenes, divine intelligence is orchestrating circumstances, arranging meetings, and positioning resources that will soon become visible in your physical reality. The delay you're experiencing isn't because nothing is happening. It's simply the gap between spiritual activity and physical manifestation, the natural time it takes for things to move from the invisible realm into your tangible experience. The transformation that changes everything is shifting from a mindset of waiting to a mindset of receiving. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for the economy to improve, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting to feel ready, waiting for circumstances to change before they dare to believe. But receiving is a completely different posture. Receiving means you recognize that the answer to your prayers is already being orchestrated. That doors which have been locked for years are beginning to swing open right now, not someday when you finally deserve it. These aren't just any doors either. These are specific entryways to opportunity that have been sealed shut by circumstances, by timing, by other people's decisions, by your own limiting beliefs. The impact of doors opening simultaneously in multiple areas of your life creates momentum that's impossible to stop. One opportunity leads to another. One connection opens 3 more. One breakthrough becomes the catalyst for exponential increase. This is how divine provision typically operates. It doesn't trickle in slowly and predictably. It floods in from multiple directions at once, overwhelming your capacity to even track where it's all coming from. The journey you're on right now is reaching a critical acceleration point. You're not at the beginning anymore. You're not in the middle of some long, drawn-out process. You're standing at the threshold where invisible becomes visible, where spiritual activity manifests in your bank account, where years of struggle give way to sudden supernatural supply. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to position yourself at these opening doors so you don't miss the opportunities being presented, because timing and recognition are everything when divine appointments arrive. Type in the comments. The doors are opening now. Here's the hidden truth that changes your entire approach to receiving abundance. The universe doesn't operate on human timelines or bureaucratic delays. There's no cosmic waiting list where your request sits in queue behind millions of others. When you align yourself spiritually with abundance, when that internal shift happens from scarcity to receptivity, the mechanisms of provision begin moving immediately. Not next week when you've proven yourself more worthy. Not next month when circumstances look better. Immediately, in real time, as the alignment occurs. Think about how electricity works. The power is always flowing through the wires in your walls. It's not created the moment you flip the switch. It's constantly available, waiting for connection. The instant you flip that switch, the light comes on. No delay, no processing time, immediate response. Divine provision operates the same way. The abundance is always flowing, always available, always ready. The moment you flip the internal switch from resistance to receptivity, from doubt to expectation, from unworthiness to knowing you're a child of the Most High, provision begins flowing into your experience. The magic everyone is searching for isn't arriving someday in the future. It's already in motion right now. Behind the scenes, favor is being activated in your life at a level you've never experienced before. Not the occasional blessing that shows up randomly and disappears just as quickly. I'm talking about perpetual favor, consistent abundance, a lifestyle of provision where resources flow to you naturally, without the constant stress and strain and hustling that's been exhausting you for years. The transformation from occasional windfall to sustained prosperity happens when you understand that favor isn't something you earn through perfect behavior or beg for through desperate prayers. Favor is a frequency you tune into, a spiritual position you occupy, a decision to see yourself the way heaven sees you, as someone worthy of blessing, deserving of provision, entitled to abundance, not because you're perfect, but because you're loved. The impact of living in this perpetual favor completely rewrites your financial story. Opportunities find you instead of you chasing them. People want to help you for reasons they can't even explain. Resources show up from directions you never considered. This is the journey from striving to receiving, from earning to inheriting, from working for scraps to living in overflow. And here's what makes this moment so critical. The favor being activated right now isn't just incremental improvement. It's exponential increase. It's the kind of divine preference that opens doors no human credentials could unlock, that creates pathways where there were only walls, that elevates you beyond what your resume or connections or background would normally allow. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this perpetual favor actually looks like in daily life, because understanding the practical manifestations of supernatural provision helps you recognize it when it arrives so you don't accidentally dismiss your own miracle. Write in the comments, "Favor is flowing to me now." The real transformation in your financial life happens the moment you stop seeing yourself as someone desperately begging for help and start recognizing yourself as someone the universe is actively supporting. This shift in identity changes everything. You're not a victim of circumstances hoping God might notice you if you pray hard enough. You're a beloved child of divine intelligence that's personally invested in your success, your well-being, your prosperity. When you truly grasp this, those bills sitting on your table stop looking like insurmountable problems that overwhelm even God and start looking like what they actually are. Opportunities for divine intervention to demonstrate its power in your life. Think about how this changes your emotional state. Instead of panic when unexpected expenses arise, there's a quiet confidence that provision is already on its way. Instead of stress keeping you awake at night, there's peace knowing you're positioned in the stream of divine supply. Behind the scenes, this shift in how you see yourself creates a magnetic pull that draws resources towards you. The universe doesn't respond to your begging. It responds to your expectation, your certainty, your unshakable knowing that you're supported. Now here's where the journey gets really fascinating. Divine provision rarely arrives from the places you expect. Most people make the mistake of fixating on one or two obvious sources. Their job, maybe a tax refund, and they miss the miracle. Happening from completely unexpected directions. The universe operates with far more creativity, far more reach, far more possibilities than your limited human thinking can imagine. Money might show up from a lawsuit settlement you forgot you filed. A relative you barely know might leave you an inheritance. A business opportunity might fall into your lap through a random conversation at a coffee shop. The impact of understanding this is that you stop trying to control how your blessing arrives, and instead stay open to receiving from any direction. You're not limiting divine provision to the narrow channels your mind can predict. You're allowing abundance to flow from north, south, east, and west simultaneously. This is the hidden truth about why some people experience financial miracles regularly, while others wait their entire lives for one breakthrough. The ones experiencing consistent provision have learned to recognize that every person they meet, every conversation they have, every unexpected phone call could be carrying their next financial blessing. The transformation from scarcity to abundance isn't just about more money showing up. It's about developing spiritual eyes to see opportunity where others see nothing, to recognize divine appointments when they appear disguised as ordinary encounters, to trust that the creative intelligence orchestrating your provision is infinitely more resourceful than your worried mind trying to figure everything out. Now, I want to go even deeper into what blocks most people from recognizing these unexpected streams of provision, because awareness is everything when your miracle arrives in disguise. Put in the comments, "My provision moves in unexpected ways." Right now, in this very moment, there are people you haven't thought about in years, maybe even decades, who are about to re-enter your life, carrying resources specifically meant for you. These aren't random coincidences or chance encounters. Behind the scenes, divine orchestration is reconnecting you with individuals from your past who have a role to play in your financial breakthrough. That friend from college you lost touch with, that former colleague who moved away, that distant relative you only see at funerals. Any one of them could be the unexpected channel through which your provision flows. Think about the implications of this. Opportunities you thought evaporated long ago are being resurrected right now. That business idea you abandoned because the timing wasn't right. That connection that seemed to lead nowhere 5 years ago. That door that slammed shut and left you discouraged. Divine intelligence doesn't waste anything. What looked like a dead end in your past is being revived as a breakthrough in your present. Forgotten connections are becoming your greatest financial opportunities, not because you're networking or manipulating or forcing outcomes, but because supernatural timing is finally aligning circumstances that were always meant to serve you. But here's where most people sabotage their own miracle. They try to control exactly how their blessing should arrive. They've already decided that provision can only come through their job, or through one specific business deal, or through one particular person. So they focus all their energy on that single channel, essentially telling the universe they'll only receive if it comes their way. This is the hidden truth that keeps people stuck. The moment you limit how God can bless you, you close off 99 other pathways that were ready to deliver. The transformation happens when you release control and stay open to receiving from any direction. Stop demanding that your miracle look a certain way, or arrive through a specific person, or manifest within your predetermined timeline. The universe has access to resources and routes you can't even imagine. Your job isn't to figure out the how. Your job is to maintain receptivity, to stay expectant, to Recognize opportunity when it appears, even if it doesn't match the picture you had in your mind. The impact of this surrender is immediate and profound. The moment you stop strangling your blessing with control and start trusting divine creativity, doors begin opening that you didn't even know existed. Money shows up from sources so unexpected you can only laugh and acknowledge that only supernatural intelligence could have orchestrated such perfect provision. This is the journey from human, striving to divine flow, from exhausting yourself, trying to make things happen, to resting in the confidence that what's meant for you will find you. Now, I want to go even deeper into the principle of multiplication that governs how small seeds of provision become forests of abundance, because understanding this law changes how you steward every resource that enters your hands. Write in the comments, "I release control and receive freely." Divine abundance doesn't respect the limitations you've accepted as reality. It doesn't look at your circumstances and say, "Well, there's no way provision can flow here because the obstacles are too big." No, supernatural supply flows around barriers, finds pathways your logical mind never imagined, and delivers resources through what appear to be completely impossible situations. This is exactly how divine provision typically operates, and it's why your breakthrough often comes from the direction you least expect. Think about water for a moment. When it encounters a rock in its path, it doesn't stop flowing. It simply moves around the obstacle, finding another route, continuing its journey to the ocean. Sometimes it goes over, sometimes it goes under, sometimes it splits into multiple streams and reunites on the other side. But it never stops moving. This is the nature of abundance when you align with its flow. Every barrier someone told you was permanent, every limitation you've accepted as unchangeable, divine provision is already finding ways around it, through it, or simply dissolving it entirely. The hidden truth that changes everything is understanding the principle of multiplication that's embedded into the very fabric of creation. Remember the ancient miracle of loaves and fish, where a small boy's lunch fed thousands with baskets left over. That's not just a nice story from the past. That's a revelation about how spiritual laws work in the present moment, in your current financial situation, right now. What you have in your hands, even if it seems woefully insufficient, contains the seed of exponential growth when touched by divine power. Look at how nature operates. A tiny seed, small enough to lose between the cushions of your couch, becomes a massive tree that produces thousands more seeds. One idea becomes an empire. One connection multiplies into a network. One opportunity opens 3 more. This isn't addition, where small amounts slowly accumulate over time. This is multiplication, where what seems small suddenly explodes into abundance that overwhelms your capacity to contain it. The transformation in your financial journey happens when you shift from addition consciousness to multiplication consciousness. Addition thinking says you need to work harder, save more, add extra income streams through more effort. Multiplication thinking says you need to plant seeds, create space for divine increase, and trust that what you steward well today will produce a harvest far beyond what you invested. The impact of operating from multiplication rather than addition is the difference between exhausting yourself for modest gains and positioning yourself for exponential breakthrough. Behind the scenes, this principle is already at work in your life. That small amount you have, that modest resource you're tempted to dismiss as insignificant, it's a seed waiting to be planted, not a final verdict on your financial destiny. Now, I want to go even deeper into how to activate this multiplication principle in practical ways, because understanding the spiritual law is one thing, but knowing how to cooperate with it changes your daily decisions about money. Type in the comments, "My seeds are multiplying now." What you're holding in your hands right now, even if it feels completely insufficient, contains potential for exponential growth when touched by divine power. This is the revelation most people miss entirely. They look at their current resources, see how small they are, compared to their needs, and immediately fall into despair. But that's looking at your situation through scarcity eyes instead of abundance vision. The transformation doesn't happen by somehow getting more added from outside. It happens by multiplying what's already in your possession. Think about this carefully. If you're waiting for some massive windfall to drop from the sky before you believe abundance is possible, you're missing the whole point of how multiplication works. Divine increase doesn't require you to start with much. It requires you to start with faith. That small amount you have, that modest income, that tiny savings account, those aren't evidence of your poverty. Those are seeds of your coming prosperity. But here's the critical part. Seeds don't multiply while they're sitting in storage. They multiply when they're planted, when they're released, when they're put into motion with expectation. This is where the journey separates people who stay stuck from people who break through into wealth. Wealthy people, whether they consciously understand the spiritual mechanics or not, operate from a consciousness of multiplication rather than addition. They see money as seeds to plant, not resources to hoard. They look at what they have and ask, how can this grow? Instead of, how can I protect this from loss? The shift from scarcity thinking to abundance mindset literally changes the energetic frequency you're broadcasting into the universe. When you're clutching tightly to the little you have, terrified of losing it, you're telling the universe you believe in lack. You're operating from fear, from scarcity, from the belief that there's not enough. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, reflects that frequency right back to you with more experiences of not enough. But when you shift into planting mode, when you start treating your resources as seeds with multiplication potential, when you give generously even from your lack because you trust the principle of increase, everything changes. The impact of this shift is immediate and measurable. Behind the scenes, in the invisible realm where all manifestation originates, your new frequency of abundance consciousness creates a magnetic pull. Opportunities you couldn't see before suddenly become visible. People start wanting to invest in you, partner with you, hire you, bless you. Resources begin flowing from multiple directions because you're no longer blocking the flow with fear-based hoarding. This is the hidden truth about sustainable wealth. It's not built through gripping tightly to what you have, but through confidently releasing seeds and expecting harvest. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this planting actually looks like in practical, everyday decisions. Because understanding theory is one thing, but applying wisdom to your actual money changes everything. Write in the comments, I plant seeds with confidence. Now let's bring this out of the realm of abstract spiritual theory and into your concrete reality, because what we're talking about here isn't some vague concept that sounds nice but doesn't touch your actual life. This is about real money for real bills. That rent payment coming due next week that's been keeping you up at night. The mortgage that makes your stomach tighten every time you think about it. That car payment, those medical bills stacking up on your counter, the groceries you need to feed your family this week, the electricity bill, the water bill, the repairs that can't wait any longer. Provision is already on its way for each specific need. Think about the transformation that happens when you stop praying in religious generalities and start getting specific with your expectations. Most people pray something like, God, please bless my finances, and then wonder why nothing concrete manifests. But the universe doesn't respond to vague requests. It responds to specific, targeted faith. When you say, I need $1,200 for rent by the 15th, you're not being presumptuous or materialistic. You're being specific, and specificity is what transforms prayer from wishful hoping into powerful declaration. Behind the scenes, divine intelligence already knows the exact amounts you need. Nothing about your financial situation is invisible to the one who created you. Your struggles aren't too mundane or too small for divine attention. In fact, it's precisely these everyday practical needs that become the canvas on which supernatural provision loves to demonstrate its power. The God who orchestrates galaxies and designs ecosystems cares deeply about whether you can pay your electric bill this month. The creative intelligence that keeps your heart beating without conscious thought is intimately aware of that overdue notice sitting on your kitchen table. The impact of this understanding is profound because it means you can approach divine provision with confidence about specific needs rather than hoping for general good luck. You're not bothering God with details that are beneath His concern. You're partnering with infinite intelligence that sees, knows, and is already arranging provision for your concrete, tangible, specific requirements. This is the hidden truth about effective prayer. The more specific you are about what you need, the more clearly you can recognize the answer when it arrives. The journey from vague hoping to specific expecting changes everything about how you interact with divine abundance. You stop saying, "I hope something good happens," and start declaring, "Provision for this specific need is on its way." You shift from passive wishing to active faith. And in that shift, you align yourself with the frequency of manifestation rather than the frequency of perpetual lack. Now, I want to go even deeper into the timeline of this provision, because understanding when breakthrough arrives changes how you position yourself emotionally and practically to receive it. Put in the comments, "My specific needs are met." Here's what completely transforms how you relate to financial stress. Divine provision operates on a timeline that's radically different from human panic. Most people only cry out for help when they're desperate, when the bills are overdue, when the pressure is unbearable. But supernatural supply doesn't work that way. The hidden truth is that divine provision moves preemptively, not reactively. It anticipates your needs before you even articulate them. It positions resources in your path before you consciously know you'll need them. It creates solutions to problems that haven't fully manifested yet. Think about the implications of this for your peace of mind. Right now, you might be stressed about an expense coming next month, but divine intelligence isn't scrambling to figure out how to help you. It's already 3 steps ahead, arranging circumstances, positioning people, preparing opportunities that will deliver exactly what you need exactly when you need it. Behind the scenes, there's a benevolent orchestration happening that's far more intelligent and far more thorough than your worried mind trying to figure everything out. The transformation happens when you truly grasp that provision isn't racing to catch up with your needs. It's actually ahead of them, already in motion, already preparing the way. This shifts you from living in constant reaction mode, where every unexpected bill sends you into panic, to living from a place of deep trust. You stop being controlled by circumstances because you recognize that what looks like a crisis to you is simply another opportunity for divine provision to demonstrate its reliability. This is the journey from anxiety to peace, from frantic scrambling to confident rest. When you understand that supernatural supply anticipated this need before it even appeared on your radar, you can breathe, you can sleep at night, you can face your bills without that crushing weight in your chest because you know something your circumstances don't reflect yet. The answer is already in motion. The impact of this revelation on your mental and emotional health alone is worth everything, because stress about money has been stealing your joy, your relationships, your health for far too long. But there's more to this than just feeling better. When you stop operating from panic and start living from trust, you actually become more receptive to the provision that's trying to reach you. Fear and worry create contraction, resistance, blocking energy. Trust and peace create openness, receptivity, magnetic attraction. The very state of resting in divine timing becomes the frequency that allows breakthrough to flow into your experience. Now, I want to go even deeper into what this looks like practically when unexpected needs arise. Because knowing how to maintain peace in the midst of financial challenges is the real test of whether you've truly shifted into abundance consciousness. Write in the comments, "Provision is ahead of my needs." Here's the shift that changes everything about how you approach financial breakthrough. The journey from scarcity to abundance doesn't work the way most people think. They're waiting for their circumstances to change first, and then they'll believe. They think once the money shows up, once the debt is paid, once the bank account looks better, then they'll have faith in divine provision. But that's backwards. That's trying to see before you believe. and it keeps you locked in the exact cycle you're trying to escape. The transformation happens when you believe first, before any evidence appears. When you shift your internal state from lack to expectation while your bank account still looks the same, while the bills are still sitting there, while nothing externally has changed yet. This isn't denial of reality. This is understanding a deeper reality, the truth that your external world is always rearranging itself to match your internal consciousness. Change the inside first, and the outside has no choice but to follow. Think about what this means practically. It means you stop letting your current balance dictate your emotional state. It means you refuse to let bills steal your peace. It means you make a conscious decision to live from abundance consciousness even while you're still surrounded by evidence of lack. Behind the scenes, this internal shift creates a seismic change in the energetic field around your finances. You're no longer broadcasting desperation and scarcity. You're radiating expectation and trust. And the universe responds to that frequency immediately. The hidden truth about abundance is that it's not something you chase down through relentless hustling and grinding. It flows naturally when you remove the internal blockages that have been damming it up. Those blockages are doubt, fear, unworthiness, the belief that you have to earn every blessing through perfect behavior. Overflow doesn't require you to work harder or hustle more desperately. It requires you to open wider, to receive more fully, to trust more deeply that you're supported by an intelligence that never fails. The impact of this understanding is revolutionary because it means you can stop exhausting yourself trying to force outcomes and instead focus on maintaining the internal state of receptivity. You're not pushing doors open through sheer willpower. You're allowing doors to swing open naturally because you've removed the resistance that was keeping them locked. This is the journey from striving to receiving, from earning to inheriting, from controlling to trusting. When you truly grasp this principle, financial breakthrough stops being something you're chasing and becomes something that's chasing you. Opportunities start finding you instead of you searching desperately for them. Resources flow to you from unexpected places because you've become a magnet rather than a beggar. Now, I want to go even deeper into what specific internal blockages keep most people stuck in poverty consciousness, because recognizing what needs to be removed is the first step to clearing the channel for abundance to flow. Type in the comments, "I remove all blockages now." There comes a moment in every person's financial journey where they have to make a defining declaration, a line drawn in the sand that separates their entire future from their past. That declaration is this: overflow is my new normal. Not someday when I deserve it. Not eventually when I've proven myself. Right now, today, overflow becomes the standard I expect, the baseline I accept, the reality I agree with. This single decision is the dividing line between people who experience occasional blessings and those who live in perpetual provision. Think about what overflow actually means. It's not just having enough to cover your bills. It's not barely scraping by with a little left. Overflow means abundance that exceeds your needs, resources that spill beyond your personal requirements into blessing others. When you declare this as your new normal, you're not being greedy or selfish. You're aligning yourself with how the divine actually designed prosperity to function. God never intended for you to live at the edge of survival, constantly stressed about whether you'll make it through another month. Behind the scenes of this declaration, something profound shifts in the spiritual atmosphere around your finances. Ancient promises speak of windows in heaven opening so wide that blessings pour out in such abundance you literally cannot contain them all. This isn't poetic exaggeration. This is describing the actual nature of divine provision when it's fully activated in someone's life. We're not talking about barely enough trickling down to meet your needs. We're talking about a flood, a rushing river of supply that overruns your requirements completely. The transformation from scarcity to overflow consciousness is what creates sustainable wealth rather than temporary windfalls. When you expect overflow as normal, You position yourself to receive at a level most people never access because they've limited their expectations to just enough. But just enough keeps you trapped in survival mode, always one emergency away from crisis. Overflow gives you margin, breathing room, the capacity to be generous, the freedom to make decisions from abundance, rather than desperation. The impact of living in overflow extends far beyond your personal bank account. When you have more than enough, you become a source of blessing to others. You can help family members without resenting it. You can give generously without calculating whether you can afford it. You become the answer to someone else's prayer rather than always being the one praying for rescue. This is the hidden truth about the highest expression of prosperity. It's never meant to stop with you. It's meant to flow through you, creating a current of blessing that touches everyone in your orbit. The journey to overflow starts with believing it's possible, declaring it as your reality, and refusing to accept survival as your permanent state. Now I want to go even deeper into what happens when this level of provision actually manifests, because preparing yourself to steward overflow is just as important as receiving it. Write in the comments, "Overflow is my new reality." If you've made it this far in our conversation, I want you to know that says something significant about you. You're not someone who gives up easily. You're not someone satisfied with surface-level answers. You stayed because something inside you recognizes that financial struggle doesn't have to be your permanent story, and that recognition is the beginning of real transformation. This channel exists for people exactly like you, people who are ready to move beyond conventional advice into the spiritual, principles that actually govern how wealth flows. Every video I create is designed to feed your faith, to remind you of the abundant life available to you, to give you tools that work in the real world, not just theory that sounds nice but doesn't change anything. When you subscribe, you're not just following another channel, you're plugging into a community of people actively shifting from lack into overflow, and there's tremendous power in that collective journey. Do me a favor and leave a comment below saying, "This message was meant for me." When you write those words, you're not just engaging with content. You're making another declaration, marking this moment as significant in your financial story. Plus, I genuinely read every comment, and seeing your words encourages me to keep creating content that goes deeper than most people are willing to explore. If this conversation served you today, if something shifted inside as we journeyed through these truths together, show some love with a like. It helps more people who desperately need this message find it. And honestly, it lets me know that what I'm sharing is actually making a difference in your life. Now there's a video right here that takes what we've discussed even deeper into the practical steps of sustaining breakthrough once it arrives. Because receiving abundance is one thing, but keeping it and growing it requires wisdom most people never develop. Click and continue with me over there. Your journey toward overflow is just beginning, and I want to walk every step of it with you.